Welcome to Reading Response Section 6 in the Maze Runner. This week we're focusing on text-based analysis prompts. Because of this, we only have one prompt to answer this week. The prompt reads as follows. Thomas and Chuck's relationship grew by the end of the novel. Use two pieces of textual evidence from chapter 59 to explain the depth of Thomas and Chuck's friendship. Now, as we navigate through today's reading response section, there are four different items. First, we have the prompt. Next, we have our notes page. Following the notes page, we have the rubric, which goes over the expectations for the scoring of the graphic organizer. So, within the text-based analysis rubric, there are 10 main items that make up the rubric. The first is the introduction. To receive a score of excellent, be sure to include the title of the novel, the author's name, and a clear premise for the piece of literature. Next, in the restated prompt or question section, transition into the prompt by using keywords to tell the reader the purpose of the answer or the argument. Next, give a developed sentence that supports your answer. So explain what you are doing in the introduction, and then from that, give a reason why Thomas and Chuck's friendship has grown. Next, go into chapter 59 and find a piece of textual evidence that specifically supports the reason that you've chosen. Now, make sure that you successfully help to place this quote within the context of your paragraph. Be sure to include parenthetical documentation. Now, after you have your textual evidence, you're going to explain or make connections. Now, with the explanation, make sure that you have an additional description that successfully connects the evidence that you've chosen to your answer or argument. Now, with reason number 2, you're going to add on to reason number 1 and explain a further reason why Thomas and Chuck's friendship has grown throughout the novel. Now, you're going to go back into chapter 59 again and find an additional piece of textual evidence that specifically supports the reason that you've chosen. Now, you want to make sure that this quote successfully helps to place your quote into the context of your paragraph. And again, make sure to use proper parenthetical documentation. Now, after you have your textual evidence, give an explanation with an additional description that successfully connects the evidence to the answer or the argument. Now, after you've made your connections, be sure to conclude your paragraph. Make sure that in your conclusion you have restated the argument or the answer by using synonyms from your topic sentence. Make sure that you have a clear conclusion. Now, the final piece has to do with the grammar use and the documentation of your paragraph. So make sure that you have very few mistakes. Your mistakes might be anywhere from capital letters to punctuation to correct verb tenses. So make sure you reread what you have written for grammatical errors. Now, within the graphic organizer, everything is numbered. So first you have the introduction. Then after that, you have the restated prompt or the question and answer argument section. Following that, you have part 3, which is your first reason. So 3.1 would be your reason, 3.2, your textual evidence, 3.3, your internal documentation, so the parentheses with the author's last name and the page number. After your internal documentation comes the explanation or the connection to your reason. Following that, then, you have your transition sentence. This is where you move from one reason to the next. Now, moving on from reason 1, you would have reason 2, followed by your textual evidence, your internal documentation, your explanation and your connection, and then your second transition sentence. Finally, you're tying up all those loose ends with your conclusion. So, there you have the overview of the reading response section 6 for a text-based analysis prompt.